Hey, welcome back to day 31 of Project Me. It's been a day or two, I think, since the last video, and I've just had one of my final exams about 4.5 hours ago. So, still grappling with how well I think I did. I'm not quite sure how to feel, which may or may not be a good sign. Hopefully, a good one. I don't know. We'll have to see when the grades come out, and we'll talk about the exam in a minute as well. But I just briefly, before we got into the main video aspect of the video, just wanted to touch on the discussion in the previous video, which was about solitude and freedom. And I was commenting on how I really enjoyed the solitude of my house. No one's here at the moment except for me. My flatmates are all out. And so I felt quite free. And I put this in the description because it didn't occur to me during the previous video, but reminded me of a Charles Bukowski quote. Bukowski was a poet, and this is just from memory, so I might get a few words wrong, but he writes, when nobody wakes you up in the morning, and nobody waits for you at night, and you can do whatever you want, do you call it freedom or loneliness? Just an interesting food for thought, if anyone is still thinking about that discussion. Yeah, in my case at least, it's very much a case of, oh, well, it's both. Depends. Depends on other people, actually, now that I think about it. Depends on who it is that might be waiting for me, or waking me up, or whatever it might be. For most, when it comes to most of the world, most people, it's freedom for me. But when it comes to maybe the person who I really do want to spend time with, it's loneliness, right? And I suspect most people would feel similarly. I don't think there's any one person that is strictly in one category, freedom or loneliness. But in any case, let's get... Oh, turn off my heater, my bad. It's freezing in these student flats, so I'm making use of the free power hour. But I can't even hear my own thoughts over the heater, so I'm turning it off for now. But yeah, so gratitude. Yeah, so first of all, I am grateful to my friends who have been hyping me up for the exams recently. It's always really nice to have some friends who are, verbally supportive and say it. We do love that. So really grateful for them for that, because they're going out of the way, really, to say I'll do great, or help me out if I've got a question. Yeah. Second of all, I'm grateful for the opportunity to show what I know on the exam. Being at university, incredible opportunity. Unfortunately, the exam maybe wasn't the ideal way for showing what I know and what I've learnt from the course, given there were some curveball questions. But hey, that's just the nature of exams and university exams and professors, and you can't control it. You'll always know more than you're able to show on the exam, right? And so really at the end of the day, moving forward from an exam isn't about the grade. It's really about how satisfied you are with your performance. That's what matters for you, at least. Maybe not so much to employers, but I think as long as you're happy with your performance, then you're able to be more confident going forward, which might lead to better grades going forward as well. I don't know. As long as you're always in a pattern of being open-minded and not being closed-minded and, oh, my performance was good, we'll keep it the exact same way, Got to keep moving forward, and that means bringing in new ideas and all that. Thirdly, I am grateful for... when I opened YouTube before this video, I noticed that there were 2 comments on some videos, and they were both saying how, on different videos, they were both saying that it was nice to see someone who had thoughts, or who was thinking similarly to them. And so I'm grateful for you guys for saying that, because I'm doing this project primarily for me to get my emotions out, to process my emotions in a way that isn't because I refuse to talk to people in real life. So it's just a healthy way of trying to process what's going through my mind. And so to have someone else, say that they're going through something similar or they feel similarly and that I'm not alone and that they're not alone, that's actually a really cool thing and it is quite motivating. And that actually leads into the main topic of the video, which I wanted to talk about, which was sudden wins and losses. And what I mean by that is, so for example, in the context of this YouTube channel, I try not to look at the subscriber count, but I have noticed that there was a 7-person subscriber count increase. 7 new subscribers in the last day and a half, 2 days, I think. I don't know. And so that would be a win, right? It is motivating in a way to see that, other people do connect with what I'm saying. Or alternatively, if the opposite were to happen and 6 people were to unsubscribe, then it would be very demotivating, right, to see that. And what I'm getting at is, I think in life we have to be very careful about seeing these wins and these losses and choosing how we process them and move forward. Because particularly in my case, I've noticed that if I get a sudden win or something and I feel really happy because of something I notice, like for example subscriber count, then I've noticed I might tend to go out of my way to check the subscriber count, see if it's gone up or something the last, more frequently. Almost like it's the start of manic behavior or an addiction or something. And the same is true with losses as well. It might stop you from doing good things just because you didn't feel like you were getting anything out of it because of this one specific instance. That's quite that's quite vague terminology, so I apologize if that doesn't make sense. But I'm trying to think of another example I could give. It's like Pavlov's dogs or something. Pavlov's bell. I can't remember what the exact scientist's name was, but for example, he rang the bell and the dogs came running to eat the food because he rang the bell every time he was going to feed the dogs. If you associate, I'm really just ranting here. If you associate, a chemical dopamine boost, whatever, in your head with a win, then you feel more inclined to go out and get that win, right? It's just human nature for us. If we perceive something to be enjoyable, we'll do it more because we get enjoyment out of it. Same thing with wins and losses, I think. So you have to be very careful, because if we're not careful, then these wins might turn into manic addictions, behaviors, whatever it might be. And the way you mitigate that, I found, is with an appropriate amount of pessimism or optimism. So in today's example with the test, my final exam, my professor threw 2 curveball questions at us for the tort of negligence. This is an aspect of law, and I've been doing nothing but studying for the last 2 weeks, really, and yet there I was, completely blindsided by these 2 questions. And so that was a sudden loss for me, right? I come out of that exam and I'm feeling I'm not happy with my performance in the exam. It's not nearly close to what I would have hoped to have been able to show about what I've learnt in the course in that exam. So I'm feeling quite down, and it's a very sudden loss, but I know that if I keep that frame of mind, if I keep that loss mindset, then it might turn into something really quite detrimental for me. I tend to snowball when it comes to mental health. I might be fine one day, but then I'll let a thought get to me. Like, for example, a few months ago, I was in a tutorial. I was feeling fine, but then the question that the professor asked in the tutorial why people couldn't think of questions to ask during one of our student presentations. And he wasn't directing it at anyone, it wasn't a pointed question, he was just joking, but I let that get to my head. And I thought, why am I incapable of asking question, of critical thinking? Why am I incapable of asking a critical question? Why am I incapable of asking or thinking critically? And then it snowballed into this whole thing where I became inadequate to myself, and it took me weeks to get out of that frame of mind, and a lot of effort, right? And so what I'm saying is you have to be very careful not to let these sudden losses turn into huge defeats, right? And the way you do that is by having a very conscious effort to supply yourself with optimism when it's a sudden loss, or pessimism when it's a sudden win, right? You don't want to grow arrogant when you have a little victory, right? A little victory is nothing to be proud of, it's something to be happy with, but nothing to be proud of, right? So a little bit of pessimism balances it out, and a little bit of optimism balances out the loss. It's very hard to talk about it in specific terms. The best I can do is provide examples in my own experience. But that was also why, because of my exam today, that's also why I thought this would be a good topic to cover. It just occurred to me when I was walking back from campus. So I hope that was of some value. When you're feeling down because of something quite sudden, find a positive aspect, right? So for me, I'm not thinking about my grade. I'm thinking about how I can bounce back from this. I'm thinking, okay, I wasn't able to show the high level of performance that I want to in that exam. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's a wake-up call for me, because maybe I'll come out and I have an opportunity to change the way I do things in the future, right? Because I know this hasn't worked, and this was an opportunity that showed me that what I was doing wasn't working when it comes to studying. So now I know to change things up, and so it's actually a blessing in disguise, right? Find a positive in that negative situation or event, and the same thing with a positive event. Find a negative. That's not to say don't celebrate your wins, but I mean it to say that you should keep you grounded, right? You don't ever want to be so arrogant that you forget the bad can happen, right? You want to keep a little bit of doubt in your mind to keep you going forward, I think. There's not too much I think I can say without repeating myself, so I think I'll stop it here. But yes, like I said, I hope that was of some value. Hey, listen, wherever you are in the world, I hope you have a wonderful day, night, evening, afternoon, morning, whatever it might be. But yeah, take care, guys. Cheers.